Surah At-Tawbah, most of it is what is revealed towards the very end of the life of the Prophet ﷺ. And the history of the ayat, the context of these ayat are towards the end of the seerah. So the last few years of the Messenger ﷺ. And a lot of this surah actually has to do with the conquest of Makkah, Fath Makkah, and the punishment that should come to the Quraysh. In other words, this struggle of Rasulullah ﷺ and the Sahaba radiallahu ta'ala ajma'een, over 2 decades have gone, a struggle, ups and downs. When they were in Makkah, you don't even know if they're all going to survive or not, because the Makkans or the Quraysh are an unstoppable power compared to the Muslims. They're just a handful, they don't have anything. And it's even miraculous the way they escaped from Makkah. You know, if you ask a politician or even a political science expert or a military expert, these people are going to survive or not, they will say, no, there's no chance these people can survive. They're going to be executed. But somehow they survive in Medina. And even in Medina, there are all kinds of problems. It's not that there's only solutions in Medina. There are its own challenges in Medina. And not even 6 months go by and we have to go head to head with the Meccan powers again. And the struggles continue between the Muslims and the Quraysh, and also the internal challenges of Medina. And one impossible odd after another, and the help of Allah keeps on coming. Until finally the most unexpected thing, actually even the entire Arabia did not expect that the Quraysh will ever be overpowered. That was not expected, you know. And even that Allah gives the Muslims, and they're able to overpower. Finally, after all that struggle, this, you can call it the superpower tribe of the region, the Quraysh. But you know what? Even from the Madani life of the Prophet ﷺ, he started sending letters to real superpowers. The Persians and the Romans, people started receiving letters from the Messenger of Allah ﷺ in an invitation to Islam. And if you just compare, within the desert of Arabia, Meccans are a big deal. Nobody wants to mess with Quraysh, because they're the superpower. But if you put that in perspective of the Romans and the Persians and the great empires of the time, then the Meccans are nothing, they're flies. They have no comparison to the armies of the Romans and the armies of the Persians. So for the Muslims, defeating the Meccans was a big deal. That's a huge problem for them with respect to the region. But when the conflict began, and there's news that the Romans are actually gathering their armies, and not too soon after, we're going to find out that there's going to be even coming on the horizon conflict with the Persians, which are massive, massive armies. I mean, their armies are bigger than the population of the Muslims. Their armies alone. Not even civilians compared to civilians. There's not even a comparison. I can't even use the phrase apples and oranges because it doesn't work here. This is apples and forests of watermelons. You know, there's no comparison. So now the Muslims feel finally they have got some victory. They were finally able to clean the house of Allah, and victory came, and all of a sudden a new problem is introduced. And the size of this problem is nothing like what they've ever seen before. Nothing. There's not even any comparison to any challenge they faced in their entire history to this problem. And this is towards the end of the struggle. And you know, when you finally win, you finally feel like the problems are over, you can take a breath of fresh air and say, okay, it's over now. Well, actually, it's just getting started. And it's getting started in a way that the real challenge is now. SubhanAllah. SubhanAllah. And on top of this, when the news came that, this massive army of the Romans is actually uniting and gathering its forces, and it's headed towards the Messenger, ﷺ, and the Muslims, instead of defending the city, the instruction comes from Rasulullah ﷺ, let's go after them. Instead of fortifying our city where we are strongest, let's gather everyone, let's have a general draft of the Muslims, gather our forces and meet the enemy. Let's go meet the enemy. This is an incredible, you would even say at the foot soldier level, are we crazy? Is that what really we're going to do? We're going to go out and meet with them? Nobody fights with them. Nobody touches them. And they're coming after us, and we're going to go after them? This doesn't even make any sense. So there were all kinds of Muslims, right? There were the Muslims who sami'na wa ata'na. They said, if Allah can give us victory over the Meccans, who everybody thought was impossible. What's the big deal? I don't care if they're 100 times bigger or 1,000 times bigger or 1,000,000 times bigger. It doesn't matter. The help didn't come from us. The victory didn't come from us. It came from Allah. So we trust Allah and we trust His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We're going. We're going. Others said, how can we go? It's going to be really hard. And Allah made a call to the Muslims. Open call. This is unlike any other battle in the past. يا أيها الذين آمنوا إذا قيل لكم انفروا في سبيل الله اثاقلتم إلى الأرض. Surah At-Tawbah again. Those of you who have iman, when you're told march forward in Allah's way, your feet get planted into the earth. What's the matter with you? ما لكم? Why aren't you moving forward? أرضيتم بالحياة الدنيا من الآخرة. Are you happy with this life as opposed to the next? You think you signed up for Islam for this life or next life? Well, what were you thinking? You think this was going to be a cakewalk and you get to celebrate in this life? This life is, the test is going to continue. Get your act together. What's wrong with you? It's like a wake-up call from Allah Azza wa Jalla in those ayat that are earlier in the surah.